Every cell in the body maintains a negative charge relative to the interstitial environment. What do I mean? Too often in basic biology classes, the membrane is described as a bag which holds the cell's innards and separates what is the cell from what is not the cell. In truth, the membrane is one of the most dynamic, interesting parts of the cell and serves as the gatekeeper for what may go into or out of the cell. The membrane is a so-called fluid mosaic. It acts like a fluid made of different solids. Think gumballs in a jar. The gumballs are solid, but they take the shape of the container into which they are poured. The membrane is not, however, made of gumballs. It contains cholesterol, proteins, and carbohydrates peppered throughout, floating through a sea of phospholipids. In fact, they're called rafts. Of particular interest in this video are the proteins, which are the biochemical class of molecule that do stuff. Certain proteins act as carriers to move stuff from one side of the membrane to the other, and some of that stuff has native charge. For example, sodium is a positively charged ion, a cation. So is potassium. A calcium ion has a double positive charge. In order to get from one side of the membrane to the other, a substance must be neutral and hydrophobic. Ions aren't either, so they need a carrier. One of the most important is the sodium-potassium pump. This amazing protein transports 3 sodium ions out of the cell and 2 potassium ions into the cell for every ATP hydrolyzed. This form of primary active transport not only establishes a chemical concentration gradient, note that there are more sodium ions outside the cell now and more potassium ions inside, but it also creates an electrical charge on the membrane. Think about it. If you pump out 3 positive ions, sodium, and pump in only 2 positive ions, potassium, you're left with -1 charge every time the pump hydrolyzes ATP. After a short while, this establishes a resting membrane potential at -70 millivolts in almost all cells. Neurons and muscle fibers, the electrically excitable types, take advantage of this by harnessing the electricity as a power source to do other things, as you will learn in the next video. It's like plugging an electronic into a socket. Once you have electrical power, whatever you plugged in starts to work, or in the case of neurons, communicate. The electrical excitability of the membrane introduces a fundamental concept that will be revisited throughout this course: Ohm's Law. Ohm's Law defines the fundamental relationship between current, the flow of something from one place to another, resistance, the difficulty something has in flowing from one place to another, and the pressure or potential for something to flow. It is written like this, or this, or this, or, well, you get the idea. The point is that if you increase potential, current increases as well. If you increase resistance, current decreases. You will see this fundamental relationship play out in the nervous, cardiopulmonary, and renal systems, and whenever something is pressured to flow from one place to another. At the cellular level, this principle is a powerful example of just how interesting and, well, powerful the cell membrane can be.